Chapter 381, A Gathering. Got it. The old man is a nag. Zhao Shalay hurriedly pushed Zhao Han upstairs. You never help me. Nothing good will happen if you help me. Tell me, what do you want? Zhao Han knew her thoughts. He grew up with her and understood her well. Zhao Shalay sniffed Zhao Han's body, flipped his collar, and looked at his neck. Are you a dog? What are you looking for? Zhao Han pushed her aside and smiled. Brother, tell me honestly, what were you doing today? You smell like Chanel No. 5, lilies, and lavender. These are all women's things. Are you in a relationship? Zhao Shalay guessed. Zhao Han hurriedly covered her mouth and smiled. Little girl, what nonsense are you saying? You don't seem to have a high IQ, but you're trying to use it on me? You're the one with the low IQ. Tell me, am I going to have a new sister-in-law? I'll tell Dad if you don't tell me, Zhao Shalay shouted. Don't shout. We're not in a relationship yet, but I'm thinking that it'll happen soon. Zhao Han smiled. Really? Which young lady is so unlucky to have caught your eye? Zhao Shalay sneered. Zhao Han pinched her arm lightly and spoke angrily. What did you say? What exactly do you want? Huh. Anyway, I already know. If you don't arrange for me to work in another company, I'll tell Dad that you're in love. Zhao Shalay continued to shout. Don't shout. I knew something bad was about to happen. Isn't it great to work in the Zhao Han's companies? Why do you have to suffer elsewhere? Will other companies put you in an important position? You won't be able to learn anything. Zhao Han couldn't understand. Usually he thought his sister only knew how to eat and play. He didn't expect her to have such a mindset. What's the point of being in our company? Who doesn't know me? They wouldn't put me in an important position at all. I'm going to someone else's company to take a look and use their experience to report to you. If you don't let me, I'll complain to Dad. Zhao Shalay then shouted, Dad! Okay. Little ancestor. I'll arrange it for you. You can go to the design store that is adjacent to the Mo family. It is new and its employees are new. No one knows you. I'm afraid that you won't be bullied if you go there. Zhao Han was worried. Shalay thought about it, and it was fine as long as no one knew her. She might even be able to become a store manager. Alright, but I'm curious about the woman who's so unlucky to be wooed by you. Is it the 1,000-year-old iron tree blooming? She asked. Zhao Shalay, I'm working hard. Don't ruin this, or I won't forgive you. Zhao Han threatened. Alright. You can do whatever you want. I won't tell Dad. Zhao Shalay really wanted to know, but she kept her promise. A few more days passed because Jinrong wanted to discuss the price of medicine with the other companies. He had specifically called together several directors to discuss it. Boss Mo, you can't be too selfish. This is a malicious competition. We can sue you. Qin Hao was the first to object. Although the Qin family didn't specialize in magic, he just didn't like Jinrong. Boss Qin, if we are selfish, we wouldn't have talked to you. Let's discuss this together. Don't be agitated, Mo-san spoke from the side. Boss, no. We know that the Mo family values medicine, but we are in business, not charity. We can't afford to lower the price. Zhao Gulan didn't agree either. They had a medical cooperation, and if the Mo family did that, they would be left with nothing. That's right, Boss Mo. You can't treat us like this. You can't earn money at such a low price. I know that Boss Mo doesn't do deals that are a loss, but regardless of what you think, you should consider us. We were going to feed our families. There are so many people that need to eat. The Mo Corporation might be earning profits, but we will not be earning anything at all. Old Master Tan didn't agree either. Seeing these people oppose him, Jinrong spoke slowly. The Mo Corporation can actually do the business by itself, but I'm showing you respect by discussing this with you. This is the price. Our production cost isn't high. It's all essentially extracted from herbs. My clinical trials are very effective. I believe the public can afford it. Old Master Tan said after thinking, since that's the case, can Boss Mo raise the price so that we can earn more money? Everyone in our business wants to earn more. We all know that Boss Mo is young and promising and rich, but we aren't. Since that's the case, I have an idea. Boss Mo, can you give us each a portion of the formula? As your distributor, when the product goes onto the market, our company will sell some of it. The price will be based on your price. What do you think? What an old fox. Roger looked at Old Master Tan's wrinkled face and knew that he didn't have any good intentions. Good idea, Boss Mo. It'll be a win-win situation if you cooperate. Since you're here to discuss it, why don't you cooperate and earn more? It isn't fun for one company to dominate the industry. If you're willing to share, the matter will be resolved. Qin Hao smiled. This is our Mo family's business. Are you trying to steal the deal? Mo Jinrong looked up with a smile. What? Boss Mo, your price is too low for us to accept. I know you don't care about money, but the price of the medicine isn't something that you can decide on your own. In the end, the country will have to approve of it. So wouldn't it be fine if we submit the petition together? Without us, you would still have to raise the price even if you were prepared not to. Doing business together, Boss Mo. Why don't you think about it? Qin Hao immediately changed his attitude and smiled as he poured Mo Jinrong a glass of red wine. At this moment, a waiter came in carrying a bottle of wine. This is a special liquor provided by the hotel. Would you like to try it? The taste is pure, as it is imported from abroad. Old Master Tan was a wine lover, so he naturally would want to drink when he heard this. Come, pour it. Let me try it. The service staff immediately poured the wine for old Mr. Tan. Boss Mo, we definitely can't agree to your price, but we are willing to earn money together. We know that you're cold on the outside but warm on the inside. You're willing to reduce the price for the sake of the people. How much can your family sell it for? If you sell a lot of it, many people will benefit. Boss Mo, you are a smart person. What do you think? I'm going to the bathroom. Mo Jinrong didn't reply but stood up to go to the washroom. Mo San followed. Young master, these old foxes want our business. Mo San followed behind Jinrong. Damn it, we can only agree to it now. Later we will prepare some contracts. They are right. We are too weak. It'll be more effective if we all sell them. Jinrong felt a little helpless, but he could only agree. He walked into the bathroom and was about to wash his hands when he suddenly heard a voice from the cubicle. He pushed the door open gently, but there was no one inside. Did he hear wrongly? Chapter 382. Drugged? Suddenly there was a noise from the toilet cubicle next door. Mo Jinrong gently pushed the door open. Before he could see the person clearly, white powder was blown into his face and he was blinded. His mouth seemed to be smeared by an unknown liquid. The toilet door was closed and Jinrong tried to open his eyes, but it was too difficult. A fragrant scent reached his mouth. Was he kissed? Who are you? Jinrong pushed the person aside. The person didn't speak, but Jinrong shouted loudly, Mo-san! Mo-san! When Mo-san heard the call, he rushed in, kicked the toilet door open, and pulled Jinrong out. Who are you? Mo-san helped Jinrong wash the white powder off his face. After Mo Jinrong washed himself clean, he realized that the other person in front of him was Lan Yaxin. It's you? Jinrong stared at him through gritted teeth. Brother-in-law, I'm doing this because I love you so much. Yaxin felt wronged. Get out. Get out now. Jinrong wiped his mouth, wondering what unknown liquid he had eaten. He washed the white powder off his body and staggered away. The moment he walked out, he felt dizzy. Young master, what's wrong? Are you ill? Mo-san was nervous and was about to take out the medicine when Mo Jinrong stopped him. I'm alright, go in. Jinrong endured it and walked in to sit down. I'll get Mo-san to send the contract over so everyone can sign it. That's right, Boss Mo is a smart person. Isn't it good to earn money together? Qin Hao smiled slyly. Boss Mo, did you take a shower? Zhao Gulang looked at Jinrong, who was covered in water and looked exhausted. Jinrong ignored him, drank a mouthful of red wine, and stood up to leave. Boss Mo, you're leaving already? You're not giving me a face, Old Master Tan smiled. I'm already giving you face. I don't like being threatened. Don't push your luck. Jinrong smiled and left the room. In the elevator, Jinrong tugged at his tie, strangely feeling hot. "Young master, what's wrong?" "Nothing, it's a little hot." Jinrong started to sweat profusely. "Hot? No, it's just over 10 degrees today." "Young master, do you have a fever?" Mo-san touched Jinrong's head and noticed that he was hot and sweating profusely. "Young master, what's wrong?" "You're ill. I'll take you to the hospital." "Your mouth was smeared with something just now. Let's go to the hospital." Mo-san was worried. "There's no need. Mo Shangli has been sending people to monitor me. I can't let him find me at the hospital. Send me home and call Ayn Rand over." It was normal for Lan Ayn Rand to visit Jinrong's house, so Mo Shangli probably wouldn't think too much about it. At the Mo family, when Mo Jinrong reached home, his body was feeling hot and the heat was unbearable. He recalled that he must have been drugged with Yaxin's aphrodisiac, which was the same as from the time with Mo-san. Mo-san immediately called Ayn Rand. "Young madam, hurry and come over. Something happened to the young master, and he was drugged by your sister. He doesn't want to go to the hospital. Please bring the first aid kit over." Ayn Rand was making medicine for Ting Young at home when she received Mo-san's call. She hurriedly brought the first aid kit to the Mo residence. "Yaxin, just you wait." When Ayn Rand arrived at the Mo family, Jinrong was in a daze and was becoming more and more agitated. "Forget it, get out!" Jinrong's eyes turned red and he forcefully pushed Mo-san away. Mo-san was pushed out and Jinrong locked himself in the room. He rushed into the bathroom and turned on the cold water, running it over his head. It still couldn't relieve the heat, so he laid in the bathtub and let the cold water wash over him. "How is he?" Ayn Rand listened to the voice of the person inside worriedly. "Now, madam, what would I do? I don't know what Yaxin used on young master, but he's becoming violent. Please save him," Mo-san said. "Give me the key. I want to go in." Ayn Rand pushed the door and found it locked. "All right, I'll get it." Mo-san turned around to open the door with a spare key. The room was extremely quiet. Ayn Rand watched as the bathroom doors was open, thinking that Mo Jinrong was inside. She walked in and saw her husband lying in the bathtub with water almost covering his head. Seeing that he was about to drown, Ayn Rand hurried over to save him. She pulled him out. Jinrong's body was hot and he kept asking for water. "Water! Water!" Mo-san hurriedly pressed a bottle of mineral water to Mo Jinrong. "It's useless. He needs to calm down." The moment Ayn Rand opened the first aid kit, Jinrong pounced on her and hugged her. "Water! Water!" "You can leave first." Ayn Rand hugged Jinrong and said to Mo-san. Mo-san left silently and closed the door. "Jinrong! Jinrong!" Ayn Rand patted his face lightly, but didn't get a reaction out of him. She gently took off his coat and threw it on the ground. When she took out a bottle of red pills, counted out a few of them, and gave them all to Jinrong. It was a tranquilizer pill, and Jinrong calmed down after taking it, but his body was still hot. Helpless, she could only take out a 5-centimeter long needle, insert it abruptly into Jinrong's acupuncture point, and pull it out. Now she could use the bloodletting therapy to reduce his temperature. Jinrong's blood slid out of his arm and onto the ground. After 5 minutes, his body gradually turned to cool. Ayn Rand felt that it was long enough and gave him a large white pill, which would help his body resist the effects of the aphrodisiac in Jinrong's body. Although she didn't know how much Jinrong had taken, the pill was enough. After that, Ayn Rand bandaged Jinrong's wound. "Mo-san! Mo-san!" Ayn Rand shouted loudly. Mo-san thought something had happened and ran over. The sight of blood made his heart ache. "Young madam, what's wrong with young master?" "It's alright. I let his blood out to cool him down. You can drag him to bed now." Ayn Rand smiled and cleaned up the blood silently. "Young madam, you need to get the servants to do it," Mo-san said. "It's alright. I don't want to scare them." Ayn Rand cleaned up the bloodstains and stood by the side of the bed to watch over Jinrong. Her medicine had a slight side effect. The body would feel cold after cooling down, which was why Jinrong kept complaining about it. "It's cold. It's really cold." Chapter 383, Intimate Contact. Anran covered him with many layers of blanket, but they were all useless. Helpless, she could only take off her clothes and hug Jinran tightly. Only then did Jinran feel a trace of warmth. They hugged each other and slept deeply until the next morning. Jinran woke up with a splitting headache. He opened his eyes and looked around, shouting, "Mo-san! Mo-san!" Mo-san ran in when he heard the noise, pushing the door open and closing it again. Anran was sleeping soundly beside him. "Young master, you and the madam." Yo-san smiled like an aunt as he spoke. It was only then that Jinran noticed Anran lying beside him. He looked at his clothes that were on the floor and saw Anran's bare shoulders, wondering what happened between them yesterday. "How long have I slept?" Jinran asked Mo-san softly. "About a day," Mo-san replied. Jinran turned to look at the girl beside him. She had a sweet appearance when sleeping, and there was even a trace of a smile at the corner of her mouth, as expected of his girl. He laid down slowly and looked at her quietly. He suddenly felt the inexplicable urge to kiss her. He placed his long fingers gently on her face and helped her brush away the stray hair. Suddenly, Anran opened her eyes and saw that Jinran was awake. She touched his forehead, and it wasn't so hot anymore, causing her to heave a sigh of relief. "You're awake." Anran's gaze gradually moved from his face to his shoulders and then his abs, and her face flushed. She suddenly remembered that she had taken off his clothes in a hurry to help Jinran reduce his temperature yesterday. She had also taken her clothes in a hurry to help him get warm up again. So they laid together like this today. She looked at her own body and saw that she was wearing a thin strapped undershirt. She heaved a silent sigh of relief. Yesterday, Jinran was overjoyed. "Nothing happened between us yesterday. Your body was too hot, and I wanted to help you reduce your temperature, so I took off your clothes. As for my clothes, I took them off because I wanted to help you warm up afterwards," Anran explained. But he wasn't the only one who didn't understand this explanation. She herself seemed a little confused as well. Her face was flushed to the tips of her ears. She couldn't stay in this bed any longer. She lifted the blanket to leave and grabbed her clothes to wear them. Jinran pulled her back forcefully, pulling her into his arms. He then used his hands to strip her of her recently worn clothes and threw them under the bed. "What are you going to do? We're a married couple. What do you think I'm doing? Since you're lying here, why can't I touch you?" Jinran bent down to kiss her. Anran was a little nervous and said immediately, "I'm not prepared." Jinran smiled. "Why should you prepare? Since we didn't succeed yesterday, we should succeed today. We're a married couple, so why are you so shy?" Anran wasn't blushing anymore. She was suddenly trembling. I'm a little nervous. I think I'll go back first today." A witty expression flashed across Jinran's face when he saw Anran trembling. "Are you that afraid of me?" "I'm not afraid. I'm just a little afraid of such things. Let's talk after I'm prepared." Anran suddenly crawled under the blankets and crawled out from the other side. She picked up her clothes from the ground and wore them. Jinran was a little disappointed, but it wasn't a bad feeling to be able to lie down with Anran unguarded. "Then come find me when you're ready. If this happens again, you won't be so lucky," Jinran smiled. Anran turned to leave, but Jinran got out of the bed and hugged her from behind. "We're married. You can't make me a widower, right?" Jinran spoke softly into Anran's ear and kissed her cheek. Anran nodded and left with the first aid kit. "Young madam is leaving just like that?" Mo-san walked her to the door and then returned to Jinran's side. "Young master, are you and young madam—" "Nonsense. Have you investigated the medicine from yesterday?" Jinran suddenly thought of Yaksen. That woman wouldn't give up until she was satisfied. "Yesterday, when your illness flared up, I sent someone to check. The results just came back. It is a very popular hallucinogen, sold in the black market recently. If the dosage is right, after taking it, the person will sleep obediently. It is commonly known as the obedient water. As the dosage is heavy, it can cause a person to go crazy, irritable, and hot all over. According to your condition yesterday, the dosage should not have been light, but it is very expensive. A small bottle of it costs 2,000 yuan, not to mention that a heavy dose would cost more than 10,000. She is just a student. How could she have so much money? Mo-san asked. There was definitely someone supporting her. Those old things knew that I would meet them with yesterday. It's one of them who contacted Yaxin and ganged up on me. I'll let them taste suffering. Janang knew that there were only a few old people at the gathering, and everyone had their own thoughts. Which one of them didn't want to swallow the Mo family? Young master, should we start with the weakest person, Yaxin? I'll find someone to ask what happened. Mo-san thought for a moment and asked. It's alright, send someone to monitor her. I want to know where she went and who she saw. Janang wanted to find a mastermind, so he had to start with that woman. After Janang cleaned up, recovered from his exquisite appearance, and strode into the office. The moment he arrived, he noticed something strange. He grabbed a beskeptical male employee and asked softly, What's going on? What are you doing here instead of working? The male staff was frightened and stammered. President, someone up there is investigating the company's theft. We are waiting for them to interrogate us. Investigate the company? Who? Did I give them the right? Did you listen to me or them? Hurry back and get back to work. Janang let go of the man and strode towards the elevator. Upstairs, Mo Shengli was using his position to check the accounts. Everyone in the finance department sat trembling in fear. No one dared to speak, and the entire office was silent. I am the new general manager of the company. I will be checking your accounts on the first day of my term. If you are related to the company's theft, you better become clean. Otherwise, it'll be difficult if I find out. Although Mo Shengli said this, his eyes never left the account book. He just wanted to see how much money was left in the company's accounts and the sales figures for the month. He needed to have a complete understanding of the company. Chapter 384, Checking the Accounts. If Uncle wants to check the accounts, just ask him to send it to your office. There is no need to make such a big fuss. It would be a waste of resources to make the employees stop their work and wait for you to come over. Uncle, you only need to think about the financial aspect. I'll handle the rest. Nojana seemed to be warning him not to cross the line. Janang, how long has it been since you last read the account book? This is a serious imbalance in the company's accounts and expenditures. You should check the account book more than often in case someone empties the company of its fund. Since it's such a large company, I'm doing this for your sake. I heard that the company's theft a long time ago, and I originally planned to find the thief after checking the account. Regarding this matter, I believe that there should be someone coordinating internally and externally. I have investigated the company's network thoroughly, and if someone can crack it so easily, there must be a spy. Mo Shengli explained and flipped through the account book with a smile. Uncle, you shouldn't be involved in this matter. I've already gotten someone to take responsibility. I believe that there will be an outcome soon. Uncle, please just do your job. Janang was trying to save face for him. Otherwise, he would have called the police. But Mo Shengli didn't seem to understand anything and insisted on finding the culprit. Janang, you have brought the company to the top 3 position in just a few years, but you're still young. You probably don't have much experience in catching thieves. I've roamed the world for many years and have my own methods. Shengli persisted. Uncle, please go back. Janang stepped forward, snatched the account book, pushed it aside, and glared at him. Mo Shengli spread his hands helplessly and turned to return to his office. Young master, don't worry. I have followed your instructions and installed cameras and listening devices in his office. Mo-san spoke softly. Don't let him near the archive room. Janang sat in his office chair and said, Young master, the department we established should have some investigation results now. Otherwise it wouldn't make sense. Mo-san thought about it for several days since he established the investigation department. But it would be suspicious if there wasn't a reasonable explanation. Spread the news tonight. Tell them the items weren't found and that they've been registered as missing. Janang wanted Shengli to give himself away and see what would happen next. Shengli, who was hiding in his office, was pacing in front of his desk. He looked at the account book and saw that it was a lot of money. How good would it be if it was all his? He looked at Jinrong's office across the hall. He was under his constant surveillance and couldn't move at all. The company's title deeds were within him, and he felt that it wasn't the right time to take them out. He wanted to wait until the time was right, but now that he saw the account book, he couldn't wait any longer. He had to think of a plan to make a fake account so that he could silently transfer the assets. If he wanted to avoid Jinrong's surveillance, he couldn't do it himself. Ayn Rand would have to do it. He took out his phone and sent Ayn Rand a text. Help me make a fake account. As the young lady of the Mo family, it should be easy for you to do this, right? After Ayn Rand left the Mo family's house, she went straight to the hospital. She received the news while feeding Ting Young medicine. Ayn Rand, if you're busy, go ahead. Your mom will take care of me. Ting Young smiled and said. Ayn Rand glanced at her phone and smiled. It's alright. It's just an unimportant advertisement. How do you feel after drinking this medicine? This is her new herbal calming medicine, an enhanced version of the herbal soup from before. After drinking it, it could clear the fire and relieve the pressure, making one feel refreshed. Ting Young patted his chest and smiled. What kind of formula was used during this medicine? Don't lie to your dad about it being a formula from the countryside. This medicine is mixed with many valuable herbs. Don't think I can't taste it. I am a doctor of the Land family, after all. I can differentiate from the dregs. There are indeed several precious herbs inside. I only read about the effects on these herbs from an ancient book. I thought that since their effects are the same, they would definitely have the same effect. Hence, I wanted to put them together to see if they were any good effects. From the looks of it, the effects are indeed good. Anna was telling the truth. The reason why she would create an enhanced version of this effect was because she had read in an ancient collection where it recorded the effects of these herbs. She thought if they worked together, it would be more beneficial to her father's illness, so she wanted to give it a try. The effects were indeed extraordinary. Ayn, I have something to say to you. Ever since you came back, big and small things have happened one after another. What I want to say is that I have let you down. Back then, when I sent you to the countryside, I made you suffer. It's all my fault. Don't blame your parents. Ting Young was a little upset. Edward wasn't upset at all, but started to comfort him instead. Thank you for sending me to the countryside, which allowed me to have my current achievements. The countryside can help me grow and broaden my horizons. I have to thank you, Dad. The more you behave like this, the more I feel sorry for you. I heard about the recent incident at the Research Institute. When are you going for the interview? I will definitely help you. Ting Young thought that his hospital was related to the Research Institute, so he might be able to help his daughter. There's no need. I want to rely on my own abilities. I will definitely be able to get in. The second interview is next week. Henry smiled and said, I know, my daughter is the best. Your brother has been taking some time out to rehearse for the school's concert, and I can't make it in my current condition. Why don't you take some photos for me? Ting Young smiled and asked. Although he said he would be discharged in a few days, he couldn't stand the noisy environment of a concert. But he wanted to share his son's achievements with his colleagues and patients, so he could only let Ayn Rand go. Look at your dad. He keeps telling everyone that his son is a celebrity. He boasts about his son every day to the doctors and patients. He doesn't even look like a hospital director anymore. Li Yuro walked in with a thermometer and took his temperature. He is your son, aren't you proud? Ting Young smiled. I'll visit the school when I'm out of the hospital. You're going to stay in the hospital for a while before leaving. She walked with her head lowered as she messaged Sheng Li. You have what you want. Why do you still need me to help you? I'm not your subordinate. If you want help, go find someone else. Eden had to put on a disgusted expression so that he wouldn't notice anything. Chapter 385. She saved Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand, did you forget that you were on my side? Did you forget that you helped me steal the documents? Sheng Li threatened. Don't go overboard. Last time I did it to protect myself. We made a deal, and after that incident, we're even. We don't even know each other, so why should I help you now? Ayn Rand replied. Ayn Rand, don't think so highly of yourself. If you don't help me this time, I'll tell your husband everything. About you stealing secrets and your identity. Do you think he won't chase you out? You better stand by my side. I promise that if you do, you will lead a good life. If you don't stand with me, I can't tell you what's waiting for you. In fact, I can actually find someone else to do it. I'm just giving you the chance." Stanley thought that everything was under his control. Since Aaron had brought in his ship, she couldn't leave. Aaron didn't reply for a while. Just as she lowered her head and was about to reply, a horn sounded in front of her. Before Aaron could look up, a figure rushed over. She was pushed and landed hard on someone else. Sashimi laid unconscious on the ground. The scene happened outside the hospital entrance, so Sashimi was hurriedly carried into the emergency room. Anna knelt by the emergency room's entrance in a fluster and hurriedly called Liero. "Mom, Grandma was hit by a truck trying to save me from being hit, and is now in the emergency room door. Come over quickly." Anna was at a loss. She never expected Zashimi to sacrifice her life for her. But now that it happened, and she was lying inside the emergency room, Liero didn't dare to tell Ting Young after receiving the call. Instead, she ran to the emergency room alone to check on the situation. Anna squatted alone at the door of the operating theater, appearing a little helpless. "What happened to her? How did your grandma get hit by a truck?" Liero hurried over and looked at the door of the operating theater. "I was looking down and didn't notice a car approaching, but by the time I reacted, it was already there. Grandma suddenly pounced on me, and the truck seemed to have hit her." Anna was a little incoherent. "Anna, don't be nervous. Your grandma will be all right," Liero comforted her. Anna was a little dumbfounded. She had seen Sashimi had harmed her and her father, and so many things had happened recently because of her. So how could she have saved her? Although she didn't want to believe it, she couldn't understand the current situation. The light in the operating room went out half an hour later. Several medical staff took off their masks, walked out, and pushed Zashimi onto the bed. "Mom, wake up!" Liero called out for Zashimi softly, but she had no response. "Dr. Wu, what's wrong with my mom?" Liero stopped at the doctor and asked. "Vice Dr. Lee. She's in good health, and this time she only had a slight concussion. She'll be better after a short rest in the hospital and will be fine without needing constant monitoring. I have done a full body checkup and there aren't any major illnesses. The wound on her forehead has been bandaged and she will be sent for observation for now." Liero nodded, seeming relieved. She didn't want her daughter to be implicated for the rest of her life. "Your grandma is all right. You don't have to be upset," Liero smiled as she said. Anna started to suspect something. She saw such a big truck rushing over, and Zashimi was sent flying far away, landing on her body. How could she only have a concussion? She thought about her past life and Zashimi had treated her. In this life, she didn't expect anything good from her. Zashimi couldn't wait to get far away from these kinds of accidents. Anna had a bad feeling about this. However, she couldn't explain the details, so she could only wait for Zashimi to wake up before making a decision. Zashimi laid on the hospital bed in a daze. She had a drip in her left hand and a bandage around her head. Suddenly, the ward door was pushed open, and Xu Yanshan ran over in her high heels. She laid in front of Zashimi's bed and started to cry. "Mom, what happened to you? I was just a bit late. How did you get hit by a truck?" "What are you crying for, Anne? Grandma didn't die." "What are you crying for? Grandma didn't die." Anna looked on with disdain. "You unfiled granddaughter. Your grandma has just become like this, but you have the heart to say such heartless words? Have you forgotten? She saved you just now, you ingrate. She should have let you be hit by that truck if she knew you were going to be like this." Xu Yanshan cried and cursed. Anna was even more puzzled. She didn't inform Xu Yanshan just now, so how did she know that Zashimi was here to save her? Besides, she didn't tell Zashimi's room number. She came over directly and accurately, as if she knew how to locate her. "I didn't call and tell you that she was injured because she saved me. I didn't tell you her room number either, so how did you know?" Anran's question stumped Xu Yanshan. "You didn't tell me, so you thought I couldn't find out on my own? I came here with Mom to see your dad. On the way, I said that I was going to buy something for him, but when I came back, your grandma was gone. There were so many people discussing the incident at the hospital entrance. It was a car accident. Everyone was talking about it. Xu Yanshan's mind was spinning quickly, and the reason seemed reasonable. Anne felt that it was too much of a coincidence. Zhao Shimi had just had an accident, but Xu Yanshan ran over in a hurry. It didn't make any sense that Yaxin didn't show up at such an important time. Grandma, it's completely fine. The doctor said that she only has a slight concussion and that there aren't any serious problems, but she is really fortunate. The check was so big, but Grandma is actually fine. This is a blessing of the heavens. Anne sneered. What do you mean? Are you hoping something worse had happened to your grandma? She really shouldn't have saved an ingrate like you. Xu Yanshan grumbled. Zhao Shimi opened her eyes slightly, her voice trembling. Yanshan, I'm alright. Don't blame Anran anymore. I was in the wrong in the past. I thought it through these past 2 days. It's only right that she had something against me. She is my granddaughter, after all, so it's only right that I accept her. Mom, you're so kind. You saved her, but she didn't take your kindness seriously. I'm not that kind-hearted. Anran, your grandma saved you. Shouldn't you repay her? From now on, don't fight against your grandma anymore. She is old and can't do with such emotional blows. Although she won't spend much time in the hospital, you'll have to take care of her health when she's discharged in the future. Before Xu Yanshan could say anything more, Zhao Shimi interrupted her. Chapter 386, A Two-Man Act. Yanshan, you should know that Anran has a problem with me. I'm in good health and I don't need her to take care of me. I'm just worried about the two of you. I'm getting older and my body isn't feeling well. Anran, you should take care of your aunt and sister. Your sister isn't young anymore. Well, you were able to marry into a rich family. I believe that your sister has that destiny as well. Help her arrange a marriage so that I didn't save you in vain today. One of them was a good cop while the other was a bad cop. Anna could tell what this two-man act was about. She didn't know what she was thinking and just smiled. Are you saying that I'm the only one who can arrange a marriage for Yaxin? Anna could tell that there was something wrong with these people. This incident could have just been a show to put on by the two of them. Since toughness didn't work, they changed to soft tactics. And don't push your luck. Your grandma is old and she went all out to save you. You should be grateful. Xu Yanshan spoke up. Zhao Shimi stretched out a trembling hand and hurriedly tugged her back. Yanshan, don't blame Anran. It'd be great if she helped us, but we don't have to ask her for help. Yaxin is smart and beautiful. She can find any wealthy family she wants. It's not a big deal. There's no need for her to beg. Anna has her own difficulties. I didn't treat her well in the past, and she must hate me. It's my duty to help her. She is my granddaughter. I can't ask for her forgiveness enough over what I've done. I just want her to see a healthy life now. Anna didn't speak. She watched her act quietly. She didn't want to expose these two good actors at all. It's not difficult to arrange a marriage for her. You wouldn't want to be Mo Jinrong's brother-in-law as long as she uses his name. Hanan smiled and said. She stopped midway, seemingly trying to whet their appetite. Xu Yanshan was very interested and thought that the ingrate had finally understood and agreed to the matter. Her tone softened. And I knew that you had a good heart. Earlier on, I was furious and spoke nonsense. As long as you can help find your sister a wealthy family to marry into, I will definitely repay you. Xu Yanshan smiled and said. The two of them looked at each other, thinking that there was a chance. There's no need to repay me. The main thing is, what kind of man does Yaxin like? I have a lot of resources on hand, but is Yaxin willing? Anna crossed her arms and gloated beside the bed. What's there to be unwilling about? It's so naturally good that there's so many prosthetic husbands. But you should know that not everyone is worthy of Yaxin. He must be the best of the best. Only then can he match up to your sister. The assets of the family should at least be 10 billion yuan, and he should have at least 5 villas in real estate. Needless to say, he has his own at least 10 luxury cars. Each one should be different and worth more than 20 million yuan. His mother should be kind. There shouldn't be any disputes between my daughter and her mother-in-law when she marries. The more important thing is that my wealthy son-in-law must love my daughter. She is the apple in my eye, and will never let my daughter suffer. The man should be studied overseas. He should have a high education, high IQ, and good looks. Not just anyone can be my brother-in-law. I have to consider my daughter's future children as well. Shi Yanshan told Ayn Rand all her prerequisites. Ayn Rand pretended to listen and moved her eyes as though she was thinking and searching for a suitable man in mind. No matter how she thought about it, Jinrong was the only one that could satisfy them. But how could she give him her husband to another woman? Then she smiled. Got it. Speaking of which, there are quite a number of people I know who meet your requirements. Why don't you let Yaxon meet them? These people are all top-notch talents, and if they were to tell you about their accomplishments, it would take 3 days and 3 nights to tell them all. Shi Yanshan was overjoyed. Her daughter doesn't necessarily need Jinrong. Good, that's great. Since Anna is being helpful, Aunt will accept it. I'll choose a good day and let her meet them soon. Shi Yanshan couldn't wait, but Ayn Rand was slow to the uptake. Aunt, it's not you getting married. Look at how agitated you are. But Aunt, you have to think about whether Yaxon will agree or not. Based on what I know, she already has a crush and is chasing him relentlessly. Yesterday, she almost lost her virginity because of it. Does Aunt know about this? Based on her personality, she wouldn't probably give in so easily. Ayn Rand spoke deliberately. Shi Yanshan was shocked. Did Yaxon tell her yesterday that she was going to the library to read? Did she seduce another man there? But this girl didn't tell her. Was she going to give up on a wealthy family to find a poor guy? That wouldn't do. Even if he wasn't Jinrong, he definitely couldn't be a poor kid from the slums. Don't worry, she will definitely listen to me. As long as you introduce her to a good man, I am willing to do anything. Shi Yanshan smiled and said, Aunt, you're exaggerating. You don't have to do that. Just don't come looking for me when the time comes and cause trouble. I found the man according to your requirements. If they fall in love but you don't like it, don't break them up. Ayn Rand seemed to have a deeper meaning, but she didn't say it outright, so Shi Yanshan was a little confused. Regardless, it was a good thing that Ayn Rand agreed to it. Old Mrs. Lance's suffering was not in vain. After leaving Zhao Shimi's ward, Ayn Rand left the hospital. She had no intentions of finding Yaxon a wealthy man. Was she even worthy? Ayn Rand took a taxi to the school. Ayn Rand was practicing his dance in a dance studio approved by the school. He debuted via a talent show and dancing wasn't difficult for him. It was just that 3 days of rehearsal was a little tight and he needed to race against time. Many classmates knew that Ayn Rand was practicing his dance in the dance studio and spontaneously gathered around the dance studio to watch. Ayn Rand especially hated this zoo-like visit. He felt like a monkey being judged, but the dance studio was surrounded by mirrors, and there weren't any curtains, so he was uncomfortable. Someone shouted from the door, "The principal is here, run!" The people at the door scattered instantly, and Ayn Rand felt much better. He stuck his head out to see who had the guts to fake such a decree. Ding ding, your favorite avocado! Ayn Rand suddenly appeared in front of him with a large bag of fruits and snacks, shocking him. I know that you're dancing and can't eat greasy foods, so I especially brought some non-fat foods. Eat without worry. Ayn Rand leaned against the glass and smiled. Chapter 387, Roping in New Members. These are creamy. How can they be without fat? Ayn Rand opened the bag and took a bite from one of the snacks. I used fake creamy flavors that aren't fatty and in a similar consistency of butter. But with zero fat, don't worry. Ayn Rand walked in with a smile. How's Dad? No matter how busy Ayn Rand was, he missed his father. He'll be discharged from the hospital in a few days. Recently, because of the pension money you gave him, he was showing off the money to his colleagues and ward friends. Dad even asked me to take more photos of your performance for him. Ayn Rand walked in front of the mirrors and posed. Ayn Rand felt that his sister was very suitable for dancing, so he sat down the creamy snack in his hand and walked forward to question her. Sis, have you studied dancing before? Ayn Rand looked at her moving figure. She seemed to have learned it before. Ayn Rand smiled without answering, spinning around in front of the mirror. Her posture was elegant, her movements were accurate. It was as though she had undergone professional training. Sis, you're so great. When did you learn to dance? Why didn't I know that your turns are such a professional level? Do you know anything about dancing? Yanan asked. It's just some superficial knowledge. I thought it was fun and decided to learn it. Anna suddenly started to dance a folk dance. But she was a psychologist before. She had specifically learned dance to conceal her tracks in order to deceive others. Sis, you're the best. The principal shouldn't have asked me to perform, but he should have asked you. Yana didn't expect his sister not only to have excellent medical skills, but be multi-skilled in other areas. Did anything happen to you in the entertainment circle recently? Anran, on the other hand, felt that recently the news about Yanran had calmed down. There was a lot of positive news about him in the entertainment industry. It's nothing. It's just that in a few days there was a cocktail party I need to attend. To fight for the research to get a drama series. Yanran finished the remaining fruit in one gulp, put down the box, and started his intense training again. Yanran trained with him for a while before leaving quietly. At Mill Corporation, as Q Chaw's latest product had been listed and completed, she had plenty of time to take care of newcomers. She ran into Sheng Li while drinking coffee. Are you Q Chaw? Sheng Li picked up his coffee and stretched out his hand, eager to shake hers. Q Chaw eyed Sheng Li, but didn't shake his hand. Instead, she nodded. General Manager Mo, hello. I have seen the sales accounts for the season. Undoubtedly, you are a leading figure in the fashion industry. Your products have sold well. It is rare for Keecha to be so talented at such a young age. Shang Li continued to compliment her. What exactly do you want to say, General Manager Mo? Just say it. Keecha seemed to have seen through his intentions. She had heard long ago that he crossed boundaries in the company and relied on his identity as Jinrong's uncle to do things outside his scope of responsibility. He was probably not a good person. Miss Keecha, you are so smart. In fact, I didn't mean to investigate you, but I accidentally ran into you previously. You seem to have a close relationship with the Zhao family. I wonder if I'm right. Please don't mind, Miss Keecha. If I'm wrong, then I apologize for disturbing you. If I'm not wrong, young Master Zhao is wooing you, right? Sheng Li asked. Keecha looked at him warily. She hated it when others asked about her private matters. You followed me? I wouldn't say following. I just happened to run into you while you were on your date with Mr. Zhao once. He took out his phone and flipped open the photo he took and placed it in front of her. Despicable, what are you trying to do? The photo that Keecha saw made her furious. Jinrong had invited her to work for him, not to be threatened. Nothing, I just wanted to ask how Miss Keecha felt after seeing this photo. If Jinrong learns that Miss Keecha is secretly dating with young Master Zhao, guess what he'll think? Shang Li drank his coffee calmly with a smile. It doesn't matter what he thinks. I'm just his employee. Who I date, who I like, has nothing to do with him. It is my private life. Please don't interfere, Keecha said without courtesy. She wasn't a celebrity, so why should she hide her private life? The Zhao family and the Mo family are competitors, right? If Jinrong finds out that you're dating someone from the Zhao family, maybe his imagination would run wild. Such as there being a leak, or the fact that you're a spy from the Zhao family? Shang Li continued. Keecha looked at the photo and fell into deep thought. She did have a good impression of Zhao Han, but she hadn't agreed to be his girlfriend. Even if she had, she wouldn't betray her principles. She didn't want to be a double agent. Nonsense, I wouldn't steal information about the company. What exactly are you trying to say? Keecha was a little impatient. From the looks of it, does he want to report me or chase me away? You said that you wouldn't betray anyone, but is that believable? Jinrong wouldn't believe you, but I will. As long as you stand with me, I'll give you whatever you want. Keecha looked at Shang Li in confusion. She couldn't understand these operations. Aren't you his uncle? Why are you doing this? You don't have to care about that. As long as you stand by my side, you'll understand in the future. If you dare to tell anyone else about today's incident, I guarantee you that you won't be able to stay in this company anymore. None of your works will be sold. Mo Shang Li threatened. Keecha had her own views, but she couldn't retort in front of him, so she could only nod in agreement. What do you want me to do? To serve the company as usual. I will tell you when I need you. Shang Li drank the coffee in his hand, placed it on the table, and turned to leave. Qichao never accepted threats, but she didn't tell anyone. Instead, she turned and returned to her office. Coincidentally, Anna strode into the building. She swaggered into the elevator, attracting Sheng Li's attention. "Anwen, you're here to find Jinrong?" Sheng Li stepped forward and smiled. "Uncle, is Jinrong here?" Anwen looked into his office, where Mo Jinrong was signing the contract. "Of course, my nephew is a workaholic and doesn't understand romance at all," Sheng Li said. "I have something to tell him." Anwen strode into his office without knocking. "Jinrong, I'm here. Did you miss me?" Anwen then sat directly in his lap in front of Sheng Li. Chapter 388, Learn from Them. Her gaze hinted that Sheng Li was still listening in from outside. Jinrong cooperatively wrapped his arm around her waist and kissed her on the cheek. "Dear, why are you missing me so quickly?" He spoke loudly on purpose. Sheng Li listened to their sweet talk outside for a while and found it boring, so he left. Anna deliberately stretched her head out to check and was relieved when she was certain that he was no one outside. "Honey, kiss." Jinrong patted, waiting for her kiss. Anna pushed his head away and smiled. "He's gone. What's the point of acting?" "I'm not acting for him. I want to do these things from the bottom of my heart." Mo Jinrong spoke sincerely and kissed her without waiting for her response. Anna was startled and she pushed Jinrong aside with a smile. "Don't fool around. I'm serious." "All right, go ahead." Jinrong stood up, drew the curtains, and sat on the sofa. "There was a car accident. Zhao Shumi was hospitalized to save me." Anna spoke unhurriedly. "Are you alright?" Jinrong looked at her nervously. "It's alright. I suspect that it was a scheme. Xu Yanchen is using this to threaten me into helping find Yaxin a rich husband." Anna stood up from her chair and spoke thoughtfully. "Is she going to let me go? But that's a good thing. At least she won't try to keep an eye on me anymore." "Are you really going to find a rich husband for her?" Jinrong was puzzled. "That's impossible. Do you think I would let her off? I think that way she wouldn't aim for you anymore. But that was Zhao Shumi's idea. We still don't know Yaxin's stance. But I don't think she can win against her mother." "Yaxin will probably agree. Do you have a suitable candidate?" "Xu Yanchen's requirements are too high. Yaxin isn't worthy of such an outstanding person." There wasn't anyone in Ayn Rand's list that met Xu Yanchen's standards. Even if there was someone suitable, she wouldn't introduce them to her. Jinrong was silent for a moment before a suitable candidate suddenly popped to his mind. "I have someone I can introduce to you, but I'm not sure if Xu Yanchen is willing." Jinrong smiled. "Tell me about it." "This person is from another city. His name is Zhu Kun, and his family is the biggest family in Yang City. Outsiders say that Zhu Kun has the intelligence of a 3-year-old. He can't take care of himself, and is fat and inhumane. However, his family has always wanted to find him a marriage. However, many people disagreed when they heard that Zhu Kun's condition. As a result, there has been no suitable candidates to be the young man of the Zhu family, even though he is 30 years old. His family is in the leather business, and his father, Zhu Sheng, is a good businessman, but he's a little lecherous. It is said that he had a lot of mistresses outside. His mother is weak and sickly, so she had been taking medicine and resting at home. Zhu Kun is the only heir in the Zhu family, and his father's lovers haven't given birth to any children for him. So Zhu Sheng is a little anxious. He is old, but he has no one to inherit the family business. Last time at the cocktail party, he asked me to find a suitable candidate to introduce to his son. These conditions are very suitable for Yaxin, but I wonder if she's willing." Jinrong explained the situation in the Zhu family, and Andrea felt that he was a very suitable candidate. Think about how Yaxin treated her in her past life. Now that he kindly introduced such a candidate to her, she would be extremely grateful. "He's the one. I'll communicate with Xu Yanchen first. She is a greedy person. I believe she will agree." Andrea smiled and said, "You're getting naughtier," Jinrong teased. "You're the one who thought of him, so we're the same." Henry walked closer to Jinrong and pushed him into the sofa. There was only 5 centimeter distance between them. Or, on the other hand, Keecha returned to the office and felt that something was amiss. Logically speaking, Sheng Li wouldn't be a pillar of the Mo family. He had just returned from his disappearance and now he was recruiting people? This is a bad sign. After some thought, she decided to talk to Jinrong. She was too focused on her thoughts to notice that the curtain was drawn. She didn't knock on the door and pushed the door open and entered. "Miss Keecha!" Musan saw this and hurried to stop her, but it was too late. Adrian and Jinrong were kissing furiously on the sofa. "Adrian, you guys... I'll come back later." Keecha seemed to have grown shy. She quickly closed them and turned around. She had never seen Adrian so enthusiastic. "Young master, I wasn't able to stop her." Musan spoke quietly. Wait a minute. Just tell us what you wanted to say." Jinrong and Adrian were obviously embarrassed as they stood up and returned to their seats. "Tell me, what is it?" Jinrong's face was slightly flushed. He raised his head and looked at Keecha generously. "Well, your uncle came to see me just now." Keecha walked in slowly to the sofa and sat down, stammering. "Why would he do that?" Jinrong was a little puzzled. Keecha's designs had been completed this quarter, and the sales were excellent. It was impossible to find fault with her. "I'll be honest, Mr. Zhao and I have been growing close lately. But I definitely didn't have the intention of betraying the company and revealing the company's secrets. It is purely my private life, and definitely doesn't involve any work. I think this is appropriate, and I don't think I need to give up my private life and social life for this work. I think I should resign." Keecha first came clean about the entire incident and then spoke beforehand. Now it all depended on Jinrong's thoughts. "Is that why he wants to see you? Don't worry, this is your private life. It has nothing to do with me." Jinrong spoke indifferently. He knew that Sheng Li might want to expand his connections. He probably didn't expect Keecha to be so confident. "Are you in a relationship with Zhao Han?" Anna couldn't care less about the awkwardness from before, but now she felt empty inside. Her best sister was in a relationship and she didn't tell her? "No, he's chasing me, but I haven't agreed yet. I just don't want anyone to threaten me like this." Keecha recalled the scene and felt embarrassed, so she didn't dare to look up at Adrian. "How long has it been going? Why didn't you tell me? When did you start to hook up?" Adrian questioned. "What do you mean hook up? It's a normal date. It started at the welcome ceremony of the company held for me last time. I promise I didn't reveal any of the company's secrets. I'm here because of you. How could I betray you?" Chapter 389, The Zhu Family. Keecha walked over and took Anan's arm with a smile. "Then why didn't you tell me? How much do you know about the Zhao Han? Even though he is said to be from a wealthy family, you should have cleared the view before you start a relationship. You can't just agree to his advances blindly." Anna reminded Keecha seriously, like she was reminding her child. I understand. You're so long-winded. You didn't tell me when you got married, did you? I heard that the two of you got married because it was a marriage by both families. I didn't know back then, too. Yet you still had the cheek to scold me?" Keecha retorted. Anna was at a loss for words. Back then, the two of them got married in a hurry. But that was only for Jinrong. She had married twice, and she prepared for it. "Can't we be the same?" Anna was dissatisfied. All right. I don't want to listen to your nonsense. I'm going back to work." "Boss Mo, I've interrupted you just now. Sorry, you can continue." Keecha left the office apologetically. Anna looked at Jinrong and stood up. "I'll discuss this with Xu Yanshan. I'm leaving." Anna picked up her bag and ran faster than a rabbit. "Young master, is Sheng Li trying to rope in subordinates so blatantly? He hadn't stopped since entering the company. Should we call the shareholders to prevent him from causing trouble?" Musan had thought that Mo Sheng Li had blatantly expanded his connections. Then he must have a plan for his shareholders. "Go and give them a heads up. If anyone dares to betray us, don't blame me for being merciless." "Young master, one more thing. You and the Yamada seem to have grown closer. Are you really not going to participate in the matters of the research institute?" Musan asked. "Let her be. In fact, she already knows about me. The new medicine is going to be out in the market soon, so I don't have time to deal with it." Jinrong snickered secretly at the thought of Anran. At the Land family, even since she had received the promise from Anrat, she was very happy. She thought about how her daughter was about to marry into a rich family and wouldn't have to suffer anymore. Zashimi stayed in the hospital for the entire night. After some observation, she went home, but there was no other problems. Mom, we're about to lead a good life. I wonder who will be the lucky one to marry my daughter. She Yanshan couldn't stop smiling. Yanshan, do you want to discuss this with Yaksen? That child is so stubborn. Since she is a young child, she has been very headstrong. Anrat had previously injured her severely, and she must hate her to the core. She only wants to hurry up and surpass her. Jinrong is her biggest prize. If you introduce a marriage to her rashly, she'll definitely kick up a fuss when she finds out. Sashimi was a little worried. She raised her granddaughter single-handedly and knew her temperament best. She might not agree. She is my daughter. Why can't I make the decision? Since the ancient times, marriage has always been decided by the parents. Although it's a new era, I'm still her mother. All I've ever done is for her happiness. Don't you worry, she'll definitely agree. I'll call the shots. When the time comes and they're satisfied, let them register the marriage. Why can Lee Yero's daughter marry into a rich family while my daughter can't? She Yanshan was upset. Nashimi couldn't care less. She just hoped that Yaksen wouldn't blow things up. Just then, Yaksen walked in tiredly. Yaksen, come here. I have something to tell you. She Yanshan stopped Yaksen with a smile. What made you so happy? Seeing her mother so happy, Yaksen wondered if something good had happened. After all, she hadn't smiled like this in a long time. Yaksen, I have something to tell you, but you have to stay calm. This is great news, and your future happiness depends on him. Shi Yanshan spoke like a fortune teller, and Yaksen listened attentively. Yaksen, I don't think we can stick to Mo Jinrong anymore. It's his loss that he doesn't like you. He is blind and he has no taste. We can find someone with good taste. Anrat has decided to help us find a wealthy husband. Don't worry, I believe that there will be an outcome soon. Marrying into a rich family isn't a dream anymore. When Yaksen heard this, she was a little agitated and clenched her fist. Mom, how could you? I said that I only wanted to marry Mo Jinrong. I must compete with her. My silly girl, you don't have a chance at Jinrong anymore. Why must you force him to accept you? Where is your pride? If others find out that you want to steal your sister's husband, which man would want to marry you? Shi Yanshan persuaded. I don't want other men to think too highly of me. I only want Jinrong. I want to marry into the Mo family. Yaksen rejected her mother's suggestion agitatedly. What's so good about the Mo family? You'd rather be a chicken's head than a phoenix tail? Even if you went over, you would only be his mistress. Would old Mrs. Land think highly of you? I'm doing this for your sake. Instead of suffering after marrying into their family, why don't you become another member's? Young madam, it'll be so much easier. I'm doing this for your sake. Why are you so obsessed? Shi Yanshan pointed her forehead and scolded her. Mom, don't you know that she sent Dad to prison? We can't just let our suffering go in vain. Now you want me to marry into the rich family and earn money for you? I think you're doing this for yourselves. I don't want to marry anyone else. I only want to get Mo Jinrong back, and this is the only way I can defeat her. Yaksen opened her mouth to express the resentment in her heart. The truth is that you can't snatch Jinrong, and everyone treats you like a fool. Would Mo Jinrong like you? Instead of wasting time and effort, why don't you marry into a rich family and seek revenge through other means? Did you forget your promise to your father, that when he comes out, you would become the young madam of a rich family? Like this, he would be proud of you. Are you listening? Shi Yanshan was furious. Yaksen, your mom is doing this for your sake. It's been so long and there hasn't been any progress at all. Instead, it has made him hate you. You can't be stubborn. There are many ways to take revenge. Just listen to your mother. Sashimi persuaded her from the side. Do you know what your grandma and I did to fight for this opportunity? Your grandma risked her life to save Anrat so that she could take an arranged marriage for you. Your grandma is old and the accident was because of you. Aren't you going to let her down if you don't work hard? Shi Yanshan spoke. Why didn't you just kill her? Why did you save her? After killing her, we might have had a blessed life. Yaksen yelled. Chapter 390, Foolish Husband. She was furious. They had such a chance and her plan would have succeeded. This is your grandma's plan. I asked Ayn Rand to find you a wealthy man. If she brings him over, you must meet her with a smile. Don't you dare to play any tricks, you hear me? Just as Xu Yanshan finished speaking, there was a knock at the door. She was startled. Was there news about that matter? She smiled brightly and hurriedly opened the door. Ayn Rand, hurry and come in. Is there news about that matter? Xu Yanshan bowed and smiled, inviting Ayn Rand in. Yaxin couldn't bear to watch. Get out. Yaxin, you don't seem to be in a very good mood. I'll come again another day. Ayn Rand pretended to leave, but Xu Yanshan hurriedly stopped her and glared at Yaxin. No, don't mind her. How is it? Xu Yanshan hurriedly poured some water and smiled. We have an idea, but I'm not sure if you're willing to accept it. Ayn Rand sat on the sofa, drinking her tea calmly and staring at Yaxin. What kind? Tell me, Zhao Shumi hurriedly asked. In the past, she wasn't this enthusiastic when she got married. I heard the rumors about this man's family as well. They're the wealthiest family in Yang City. They have countless mansions and at least 8 luxury cars. Their family is in the leather business, and the old man's name is Zhao Shen. You can check him out on the internet. You should be able to find out about him. He has a mysterious son who is said to be very handsome and never reveals his real appearance. His father is very anxious. Seeing that he is old and doesn't have a grandson, he wants to find a daughter-in-law to continue the family line. I wonder if Yaxin is willing. Yaxin was about to reject it when Xu Yanshan interrupted. That's great. Are you sure you're not lying to us? If it's all true, we're more than willing. How could Xu Yanshan have the fortune for those good things? Anna is full of wicked ideas. How could she introduce such an outstanding person to Yaxin? If you don't believe me, why won't you help me find you an outstanding brother-in-law? In that case, let's forget it. I originally wanted to find a marriage for you sincerely, but since you don't believe me, let's forget it. Anna pretended to leave. Xu Yanshan thought about it and decided to let her stay. How could I not believe you? It's just that the marriage is an important affair. Why don't you let the two of them meet when you have the time? I have to see what my rich son-in-law looks like. I won't hide it from you. It's rumored that Zhu Kun intelligence is at the level 3 of your old, and he can't take care of himself. He is jealous, fat, and has a violent personality. But there are just rumors. Don't you think that Jinrong was very scary previously? That's why I was chosen to marry him. You have seen the situation. In fact, I should be grateful to you and Yaxin. If it weren't for you, how could I have married such a good man? Yaxin, why don't you give it a try yourself? If you accidentally get something good out of it, you'll be rich. And then smiled and drank her tea. Suddenly, the cup in her hand was thrown away by someone else. Ha! How could you say such a ridiculous thing? You said that person is a fool, so what are your intentions when you introduce me to him? I don't welcome you here, and I don't want you to introduce him to me. Get out. Yaxin pointed to the door, wanting to chase Ayn Rand out. Xu Yanshan was a little angry as well. It didn't match her standards at all. Besides being rich, what else could that fool have? Ayn Rand, haven't I given you respect? Have you forgotten the standards I gave you? How dare you find a fool to patronize me? Our Yaxin is smart, witty, and beautiful. How can she marry a fool? I said this before, but this is a rumor. Back then, you missed Jinrong. If this is also a fake, you'll suffer a huge loss. Who would want to marry into a wealthy family for love? Don't they all want money? I know your thoughts. There's no need to hide them. So what if he's a fool? He just needs to know how to love his wife. If he's a smart person, it would be impossible for her to marry into the rich family. After the marriage, her mother-in-law will make things difficult for her, and her husband will complain. However, a fool would listen to her as long as she can coax him well. I'm trying to benefit Yaxin. The money will be in her pocket if Yaxin coaxes a fool. It's better than her trying hard to steal someone else's husband. Ayn Rand's words had a deeper meaning. Yaxin wanted to retort, but there was nothing she could refute. Zhao Shumi thought about it, and it made sense after hearing it. A fool would be easier to coax than a smart person. He just needed to eat and sleep every day. Next, she had to have some free time. When the time came, wouldn't Jackson's position be stable if she gave birth to a grandson? Yes, Chan, think about it. She's actually right. It's easier to coax a fool than a smart person. As long as that person has money, they'll do. Chan quieted down and listened to Anran's suggestions. He looked at Jackson. Mom, you wouldn't really agree to me marrying that fool, would you? He's a fool. Are you going to push your daughter into a fiery pit? Jackson asked. She was nervous. She couldn't marry a fool. Jackson, there are no real feelings in a wealthy family. Listen to me, you can meet that fool. It would be better if he wasn't foolish, but if he is, we can negotiate until we're satisfied. When we have enough money, the Zhao family will be ours, and you won't be looked down upon anymore. Shi Yanchen smiled and said, Mom, I don't want to go. I don't want to marry a fool. Jackson begged. Fool? Jackson, you have misunderstood him. What if he isn't a fool? Just listen to my advice. Would I harm you? Anran smiled and said, That's what she said when she was about to marry Jinrong. That's right, Jackson. We can't miss this again. Shi Yanchen comforted her, turned around and then said, Anran, that's all for today. Go back first. We'll discuss this from here and arrange to meet here in a few days. Anran stood up to leave. Jackson suddenly picked up the teacup on the table and smashed it in Anran's directions. Anran, you will die a horrible death. Her eyes were red and filled with resentment. She thought that Anran would be angry, but unexpectedly she turned around and smiled at her. Jackson, to be honest, I have died once. It would have been great if I died the last time, but this time, it won't go as you wish. She smiled and walked out of Jackson's sight. Mom, I am not marrying. Jackson begged tearfully. Be good, let's discuss this. We didn't say that you had to get married. You just had to meet him once. Shi Yanchen wanted her daughter to enter a wealthy family. She would suffer for a few years, but then she would know the efforts of her mother made her after a few more years.